Welcome to episode 2 of Evolve or Remain with your host, Melissa McLaughlin.
And Michael LoColle.
And today we are going to learn a lot about Mike, which I am super excited to dive into. I want to start with introducing him. So Michael LoColle is the co-founder of the Danvers Wellness Center by Soul Warrior, located right over near the Liberty Tree Mall in Danvers, Mass. He's a holistic coach that helps heal people from trauma and live from the heart. He's also a certified master life coach, certified shamanic practitioner, attuned to Reiki level 1 and level 2, certified personal trainer, and is certified in psychology of nutrition and DNA-based nutrition. He's been helping people for over 15 years. He's a father, son, partner, brother, uncle, and enjoys activities including kayaking, hiking, biking, playing guitar, and meditating, which I really do want to listen to some of the tunes that you play. Now, on a side note, is the guitar playing, is that meditating for you?
It is. I go into a completely different place when I'm playing, and I really get in the zone. I mean, I would say in the last probably month or two, hasn't been really creative for me. I go through these periods of time when the guitar is just not something that resonates with me. But I get back into it. It starts, I can get into the zone, and that's extremely meditative.
What kind of tunes do you play?
Everything and everything. Like everything from Metallica, because huge fan, have been since I was a kid. Blues, Joe Bonamassa, jazz. Yeah, you name it. I just have fun with it.
That's
Yeah,
what you're supposed to do.
yeah, every genre, every genre.
He also loves to travel and venture out to experience unusual places and explore new cultures. Unusual places, huh?
Yeah,
Like what?
like anything that like most people wouldn't want to go to. Like there's a place up in Gloucester called Dogtown.
It's a hiking spot, right?
Yeah, it's a hiking spot, but I guess it was a place that just was like abandoned. I love visiting places that are just abandoned or had a lot of history to them or whatever it is. If something happened there, that energy, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that stuff. Like I'm a fan of shows like Ghost Hunter and Ghost Adventures and when they hit the asylums and I mean that's not all. Like, unusual places could be like, Thailand. It's not
Right,
unusually to
right.
them, but it's to us it is,
Very much.
Yeah,
And those places with the concentrated energy is very interesting.
it is. Absolutely.
I
I
li
love it.
I work near the where the Danvers Mental Hospital used to be.
I live about a mile away from there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're pretty much like almost that's in the middle of where we both are situated. Yeah.
definitely. That energy is very interesting there.
I had a friend of mine who lived there for a while, and I guess a third of the building or less than a third of the building is still considered historical, so they can't do anything with it.
Hmm.
And he has said that he's gone out into the hallway and he just looks over and he's like, I'm pretty sure I saw something out of the corner of my eye.
I wouldn't
You
doubt it.
feel that energy from the
Hmm.
entire place. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened there.
So much stuff.
Yeah,
I've actually walked on the cemetery grounds up there.
no kidding.
Very interesting energy.
Hmm.
So I've known Mike for about 2 years now. We started the Health and Wellness Committee together for the local Chamber of Commerce and figured out that we actually align on a lot of different topics and we work really well together. As you can tell, the flow of conversation goes really smoothly with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's been an honor to meet him and work beside him in creating the North Shore Wellnesspreneurs group that we have and creating these expos, the North Shore's Health and Wellness Expo, which we have coming up in November. So today, Mike, my friend, we are going to get very personal.
Awesome.
I'm going to learn a lot about you. Our
So,
audience
so
is
is everybody
too.
else out there, you know?
I'm ready. Are you for this?
I am, yeah. Usually I'm really selective with, as everybody is, right? We're usually really selective with who we share our story with, and the things that we've gone through. And some of it is, it's deep, it's personal, right? But I've been called to this place where I help people in a bunch of different ways, either through spiritual guidance, coaching, physical, emotional, mental, all of those things. And a big piece of that is being able to relate to the client and helping them understand that somebody knows what you're going through, been there, done that, and I'm here to help you and navigate that situation. So it's time, I guess, I put it out there.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I align with that as well. It's not easy going live with
No,
what we've gone through.
no. I sit here now and I'm like, oh boy. Yeah, like you asked me, like, you want to know the questions? And I was like, no, no, I just want to go off script and whatever comes out, comes out.
And
So we'll
me,
see
I
what
like
happens.
structure, so I want to know, all right, how are we flowing with this
Seriously,
today?
right? Yeah.
So I would love to know using three adjectives, how would you describe your journey of personal growth and self-discovery?
Is the ugly one of them? Messy?
It can be, yes.
Wow. Personal growth and discovery. Um, Beautifully messy, beautifully ugly. Um, I don't like using the word enlightening just because it's been used over and over. I think I'd probably want to stick with just massive amounts of reflection and self-awareness, you know? So I'd say that. Yeah.
That's a lot more than three
I know,
adjectives.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can't help myself. I got a lot of words. They're all gonna come out.
I love the flow. It's great. But I like how you put a spin on the ugly and the messy and added in a positive adjective.
Yeah, I can only say that now because going through it was so damn ugly and messy and just muddy. You didn't know what was happening at any moment. And now I look back at that experience and those experiences that I've had getting to this place of growth. And I would definitely say that it was beautifully ugly. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it because in that process, I've learned so much and I've grown so much. So to me, the aftermath is beautiful,
Right.
right? Yeah,
And you can look back on it and reflect
absolutely. Yep.
and be grateful.
Super grateful for what I went through, even as hard as it was. Yeah, I stayed there. I made sure I kept going, even during times where I was like, I've fucking had enough. I'm done. Can't handle it. And I know, a couple of people right now that are going through that same process. And it is ugly. It's messy. Growth, spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, healing through trauma. It's messy.
It is, but when you have a good support system, that definitely helps.
Yes, I had a lot of people over time that I could rely on, that if I called, they were there for me. So for me, that was a massive help. Massive help. Not having to go it completely alone.
Right, right.
Yeah. Because there are times when you feel like you're the only one going through this. So just knowing that you have one or two people out there that like either have gone through it or they're like, well, just keep going through whatever you're going through. We're here for you if you just need to vent, you know?
Now, were those individuals mentors for you?
I would say a couple of them were mentors, and a couple were friends. Yeah.
Is there one specifically that comes to mind?
By name? You want me to name the person? We throwing them out there?
If we
Yes. Well,
can.
yeah, I mean, most recently, absolutely. Yeah. And I did a deep dive into some learning about shamanic practices in this last year with a woman by the name of Susan Angelo. And for me, this last this past 12 months have been you never realize that when you go into learning things that you can take to your clients, especially in this healing industry with these type of modalities, that you have to do it first. You have to experience it first. This isn't just like, oh, I'm going to show my son how to ride a bike, but I need to ride the bike first. No, this is like, I'm going to deep dive into my soul, the bottom pit of it. I'm going to figure out that ugly stuff that I never wanted to look at, the layers of it, and then rip it out and deal with it. And that was this past year. I'd say, over the last 5 years, really deep diving over the last 3.5, it's been nonstop.
And the shamanic practices really helped you with that.
Oh my God, the shamanic practices, the rituals, the ceremonies that come along with it have been absolutely instrumental in my growth, my process, the way I work with clients today. Yeah,
Now, when you say rituals and ceremonies, ritual, that word can carry a lot of different feelings and emotions with it.
it can.
So is a ritual and a ceremony the same thing, just a
No,
different word?
no, it I mean, I guess it could be considered the same thing, but to me they're different, right? To me, a ritual is like, for instance, when I walk into my home or to my wellness center, I have a ritual that I go through in the morning, either when I'm waking up or when I enter my center, where I go around and I got some plants in the office. I'm watering plants. I'm spraying the plants. I'm um, saging the place using Palo Santo. I go through a whole opening and waking up the joint, you know? And to me, that's a ritual. That's one of my rituals. Now, ritual, yes, for some people can mean a ceremony as well, but to me, I separate them because a ceremony for me is very, um, you're in ceremony. You can be in ceremony with yourself, you can be in ceremony with other people. And that is something very specific for me because I've gone through those ceremonies and they're very, there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Intention that you're setting in those ceremonies. And there's a lot of work that's being done in those ceremonies from start to end, and even before you even get there.
And after,
And after. Yeah,
because you need that time afterwards to allow everything to integrate.
correct. Correct.
So would you mind sharing with us what your early years were like and how you think that they shaped you into who you are today?
Oh man, my early years. I remember a lot and then I don't remember a lot, right? I think my early years were really, there was a lot of fun, but there was a lot of like strict discipline too. I grew up in an Italian household. Mom and dad, love them. They were there for us or have been there for us every single day, you know, loving parents, couldn't ask for more, gave us everything that we needed, you know. I would say, and people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, seriously? I was extremely shy as a kid.
I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah. So is a lot of people going to believe that. Yeah, I was extremely shy as a kid, and it took a lot for me to come out of my shell. It probably didn't happen fully until I want to say after I graduated high school. I wasn't like even probably within a couple of years after that. And that's when I got into my rebellious phase. I think I kind of not bloomed late, but I started on a tear
Mm.
later in life, you know? So the early years were fantastic. It was very, it was fun, had a lot of friends, but it kind of, I don't remember, it went by fast for me. Yeah,
Can definitely understand that,
yeah,
and I feel like a lot of our listeners can relate.
yeah. How they shaped me, I mean, I would say that I took a lot from both my parents in terms of structure, discipline, and even times that I've had like later on in life. I always went back like when I got myself in trouble in certain situations or went down the roads of drugs and alcohol. What brought me back was always that basic reminder of having the foundation in place. And luckily, thanks to my dad, my foundation was built in place. It was there, always coming back, quote unquote, to home base, and realizing like I grew up with morals, I grew up with ethics, I grew up with structure and discipline. And that's where I always came back to after anything shitty in my life happened.
When you entered into your teenage years, do you feel in the rebellion, do you feel like the obstacles that you faced when you were there, it, it must have caused you to pivot at some point to come out of that space?
To come out of the rebellion, you say?
Right.
Um, Man, even when I was a teenager, I was on the road of, I was on that path. And that path was a slow progression to self-destruction. And it started because I didn't have a really good set of belief systems in myself. My core belief system was very simply, I didn't believe in myself. I wasn't worth anything. I wasn't going to do anything in life. I wasn't going to amount to anything. And that was a belief system that I picked up very early on in my life. And when it carried into my teenage years, it was like a slow path to self-destruction right through my teenage years, picking up more drinking, picking up the cigarettes, picking up pot, and then getting into my 20s. And then the real hit was when I hit my, I was about maybe 23, 24, and all of a sudden it was like I met somebody, a partner that I was dating, and it was right into the hard stuff, the hard booze, the hard drugs, and just again, slow path to self-destruction. And people say like, oh, that was a gateway. That wasn't the gateway. I was so disconnected from myself, I didn't know any better. And I was looking for something. I was looking for a solution to my problem. Every solution that I was finding was an escape from my problem. And it was drugs, and it was alcohol, and it was sex, and it was food, and it was work, and it was, you name it, man. I picked it up. And I dropped one. And when I would drop one vice, I would pick up a second vice. And when I dropped that vice, I move on to another vice. I never dealt with myself. So I would say that it was slow. It was gradual. And then it was boom.
And what was the pivotal moment when you started realizing that they were escapes and they weren't solutions and that you needed to change and be better, do better?
That was also gradual. I started on a path of healing, I would say close to the age of 30. I started getting into a lot of self-help books and a lot of self-help audios. And that was when like the iPods were first coming out and all that stuff. So downloading Tony Robbins and John Maxwell, and I'm doing their programs, and I'm going through this process. And sure, that was helping me in those ways professionally and even personally. So I knew I wanted to be better, right? But I would say the true um, moment for me was probably about 5 years ago, when it was a massive pivotal moment in my life where I was like, I've been so fucking destructive the majority of my life in different ways that now I finally realized the depth of my problem, where it stems from, what it is, and now I need to deal with it because I no longer want the vices. I no longer want the vices to take over my life or use them as an escape or use them as a solution to my problem, because they're not a solution.
Now, let me ask you this. So, you say 5 years ago is when you really started doing the deep dives and pivoting
Mm.
um, onto your healing route, but you've been working with people for 15 years. So
Yeah,
I have a similar path
yep,
as well.
right.
Um, so I know, I understand that it can be difficult when you're trying to help others and you're still back and forth between the light and the shadow,
Yes.
that deep shadow.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you do it?
how do you balance and how do you manage? And it's not easy.
No, it's not. So, over a decade and a half now, I've been working with people one-on-one in groups. And I would say that I started back then as a personal trainer, as a boot camp instructor. That was my gig. And then within a year, I added nutrition. And then within the following year, I added the psychology of nutrition, because I needed to understand the depth of people's reasons for either losing weight, and then gaining it back. I started to see like patterns there mentally. And I think a lot of that stemmed from the fact that I did a lot of self development and personal growth with like those programs that I just mentioned through Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, and a couple of other people. So a lot of that stemmed from there. But I was a personal trainer and I was a nutrition consultant.
So you weren't diving into energy work at that
No,
point.
not at that point, not until about 5 years ago. Well, I should say 5 years ago and starting to work with it really for my, like, in a different way. And I say in a different way because about 14 years ago was the first time I had ever had a Reiki session done on me. So it's been 14 years since I've been getting healing work done on me. But up until 5 years ago, prior to that, it wasn't as intentional. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to Reiki, I want to relax, oh, this feels great. Oh, I'm seeing some stuff. Okay, there's some things that I'm reflecting on, but it wasn't so intentional. I'll say all those years led me up to that 5 years ago moment, of like, all right, I think you've done enough, and now you can start the real work.
Hmm.
We've peeled back enough small layers to scratch the surface, so to say.
The preparation.
The preparation work, exactly, just like the process work afterwards. Yeah,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely. So who or what has been your biggest influence
Who or what has been my biggest
or
influence?
inspiration and why?
Oh man, my kid.
How old is he?
He's 18 now. Yeah, he's you hit a little bit of a so my son born on my birthday, right? Everybody's called him my mini me, but he's his own person. And he is a bright, shining light that for a few years there, when I was going through my real hell, um, and it was his early teenage years, probably like 13, 14, 15-ish, um, I was around, but I wasn't present. So I was there, but I wasn't quote unquote present. I was going through a lot of my hell, my stuff, and that caused a lot of turmoil in our relationship. And only when I hit that point, which I mentioned I think on the last episode, where I had a breakup in my life and I went through a process of some deep dive inner child and shadow work, that I saw where all my problems stemmed from. And that's when I started on the road, quote unquote, to recovery and healing, right? And during that process, I remember going to his mother, and her and I are divorced. We have a good relationship. We're able to be friendly with each other so that, we can raise our child.
Co-parenting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Worked really hard at that, and I know a lot of couples out there don't have that relationship, but that took a lot of work. And I remember asking her and just saying to her, I'm like, I really fucked some shit up, huh? As a dad, I wasn't really present. And that was really hard to make that realization, because in that moment I realized I could have been a much better father. And that's something that drove me, that kept me on track to my healing. And that's why I heal every single day. And I continue to, because there's no way in hell I ever want to go back and, one, feel that pain, and two, know that I caused that pain on someone that is cut from my cloth.
Are you open to discussing these things with him?
Oh, yeah. And we have. Well, in the last few years, him and I have made massive strides, huge amount of healing, huge amends. We saw each other a lot then, but I just wasn't present mentally for him. And that sucks, because I couldn't be present for myself mentally. And I know a lot of parents out there listening to this. I know exactly, what I'm talking about. There's a lot of people out there that I've talked to that know exactly what I'm talking about. They feel it. It's okay to admit it.
That's one of the first steps. You have to acknowledge.
You got to acknowledge the fact that this is going on. Once that happens, man, then you can move through those emotions. it's most people don't want to feel that pain. They don't want to know that they've caused themselves pain, but not only that, caused someone else that they love that pain. That's that's hard. So that keeps me on track. That keeps me in check. My kid, he's my inspiration. Yeah.
I love that for you. He is a great kid.
He is. Yeah, yeah, he's definitely he's got his personality, man. He's quick. He's good.
He's a good athlete.
He's a good athlete. Just came out of shoulder surgery about a month ago, so he's going into PT now. But yeah, so no more sports, but he's getting ready for life. He's getting ready to graduate and getting ready for life.
18.
Yeah, so he's a little nervous about that, but we all were.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's exciting.
yeah,
And now that you're present with him, you
yeah.
can ride those waves with him.
Oh, absolutely. He knows he can call me any time of the day. He's called me at 10 o'clock at night, pop up, grab the phone. We talk, he FaceTimes me, you know, we get together as often as we can. But we talk probably almost every day, if not every other. And if we don't talk that day, then we're on text with each other. Good morning, what's up, love you, you know? Yeah,
Telling your kids that you love them
yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
it goes a long way.
With intention, people. With
Yes,
intention. Be
with
present.
intention.
Be present. Yeah.
So you've already mentioned some of the challenges that you've faced along your journey.
Mm-hmm.
But which can you focus in on a challenge that has really served as a valuable learning experience for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, my relationships, you know, has been the biggest challenge in my life is not being able to hold on to relationships for the longest time and not realizing why. So I was a massive people pleaser because I was looking for external validation and approval through someone else rather than within myself.
And that stems from your childhood,
It does. It stems from my belief system, my core belief
right?
system, because I told myself that I wasn't enough. I'm never going to amount to anything. So God forbid I had anybody in my life that was a quote unquote good person. I look back at a lot of my partners, right? And there were a couple that were good, like my son's mother, sweetheart, good person, you know. She doesn't quote unquote fall into that category, you know. Her and I just, we've been told we're like oil and water, but that is what it is with people. We were here to bring our son into this world, and that is a beautiful thing, so that's where I stay. But for the majority, I mean, when you look for external validation, when you're seeking that approval from everyone else and everyone outside yourself, you're going to probably encounter situations where you're going to get let down really fast. Because not everybody has that. Nobody has the kind of time to constantly make you feel good.
Those are those lovely expectations.
Right. So constantly like, tell me I'm good enough. Tell me I'm good enough.
Instead of knowing that you
Instead
are.
of knowing that you are good enough. And then coming from that place. And when that finally happens and you're able to come from that place, you can look at your partner as a bonus to your life. Now you have you're whole. People talk about being whole, that somebody else can make them whole. Got a rude awakening for anybody that uses that phrase. Nobody can make you whole but you. Okay, so you
100%.
become whole, and then your partner adds to that wholeness. They become a piece of it. And that's beautiful. To be able to have a relationship that like, oh, I'm not looking to you for external validation and approval. I'm not looking to people please you know, um, to get approval for myself. I don't need you to tell me that I'm good enough. I know these things now. And that's been able to help me have the most, the best relationship that I've had ever in my life.
I'm so
because
happy for
it's
you.
mature and it's adult and it's not in a place of seeking approval outside of yourself, you know? Yeah.
You two together definitely mesh well.
We do, and a lot of people I think like we're like, you're an odd pairing. I'm like, no, not at all. I see it, you know. She grounds me.
She's a
Um,
little earth angel.
yeah, she is. I'm a little bit of a fucking wildcat. She knows it.
Yep,
And I'm a bit of a hellion and a rebellion and all that stuff. She's got a wild side to her too,
she does.
you know, but I'm definitely out there with it. I'm very extroverted, and she's on the opposite side of the fence, and she grounds me, So when I need that little bit of like sanctuary, she's there, you know. And on the flip, same for her, So it's a compliment.
And you both are two whole people.
Correct. Well,
Instead of going for that old adage, trying to find somebody that completes you,
yeah, no,
right? Bringing it back
no.
to the fact that you are a whole person.
Yeah, she did a lot of work on herself, continues as well. Same here, you know, and that's what's really important is to always make sure that like I'll work on me for me, you work on you for you, and then when we come together, it's great, isn't it?
Right.
It's simple, isn't it?
And that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
3 affirmations to help you on your path to becoming whole.
Hmm.
Repeating to yourself in the mirror. So we'll bring that mirroring technique back in here.
Hmm.
When you're in the mirror, just saying, I am enough,
Yeah,
I am complete, and I am whole.
yeah,
And those 3 affirmations, when you repeat them or write them down, they hold a lot of weight and they can help shift your mindset into that completion phase where you're not looking for that external validation.
right. I told you relationships were my biggest downfall. They've been my biggest teacher.
You learn a lot about yourself
Yeah,
in every relationship, whether it's well, all relationships should be intimate.
correct.
What's the word I'm looking for though?
Not sure.
Whether they're friends or whether
Oh,
relatives
yeah.
or
It doesn't matter. I mean, look, all relationships in your life stem from one relationship, and that's the relationship with yourself. And I know a lot of people have heard that out there, but I don't think you really understand what that truly means to have a relationship with yourself. That means to give a fuck about yourself, to care about yourself as number one. That's that wholeness that you feel with yourself. If you can come from that place, then every other relationship in your life is easy. You'll realize the ones that belong in your life, the ones that don't, and the ones that don't become easier to, maybe push to the side or just realize it's not that time anymore. And that's okay.
and sometimes it's easier than pushing aside too. Sometimes those relationships just fall off.
They do. They do. And you have to stay in the place of being grateful for the time you had with that person or those people because they were great times. They were beautiful times, right? So be grateful for that time and don't dwell on the fact that the relationships are quote unquote gone. You may realize that they're not gone. Maybe they're just gone for now. Maybe they'll be back one day, but who knows? But you have to honor the fact that if they're not there right now, that's okay too.
The frequencies just don't align at that time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And they may relink up, they
Hmm.
may not, but everybody lives their own path.
That they do. Yeah.
So, taking a little break from learning about Mike, we will be
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to that. We want to share about our November 2nd expo happening at the Topsfield Fairgrounds.
Yes. It's awesome. November
No,
2nd, right?
November 2nd, 11 to 4. We are going to have 50 plus vendors, 7 workshops happening. I'm at the Topsfield Fairgrounds. We'll be in the Coolidge building with the vendors,
Hmm.
and then in the B building with the workshops. Now, these vendors, they come from all different types of modalities in the health and wellness fields, um, even psychic as well. So come and meet your practitioners,
Hmm.
and if you're looking to add something to your life, There's going to be a lot of chances to get sessions as well.
Correct.
So you can sample and see if practitioners align with what you're looking for.
Hmm. We got energy healers, Reiki, shamanic practitioners, acupuncturists. I think we'll probably end up having herbalists there. We have yoga practitioners who specialize in helping you release trauma through yoga, through movement, um,
Fitness,
fitness.
nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition consultants and coaches. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole wellness wheel is what we like to call it, and everybody and anybody that's going to be in there. Astrology readings, tarot readings, um, you name it, it's all there.
We also have a community outreach program as well. So a portion of the proceeds goes towards the wellness veteran packs that we will be creating after the expo. We are going to be working closely with the VA and creating bags that have hygiene products and warm socks, hats for the homeless veterans to help them get through the winter blues and
Yeah,
um, just help improve their lives a little bit.
yeah. Giving back, giving back. It's so important. Especially, you don't even have to be in it. Everybody just says I got to wait until I'm in a position to give back. No, you don't. You can give back in so many different ways. So just whatever you can do for the people in your community, do it.
So come and network. You can meet us in person and a lot of amazing people
Yep,
in the North Shore.
yep.
Um, so thank you for that commercial minute. But we'll get back to interviewing Mike here.
I didn't realize I had more questions coming up.
You do. So Mike is a real life Superman.
Oh boy,
He helps
I didn't see
people,
this coming.
rebuilds his community, knows and shares his truth, works on the deepest and darkest parts of himself to be a better person. Now, can you share with us, real life Superman, what's your kryptonite?
Oh man, what's my kryptonite? Meaning like the thing that'll just take me down.
Mm-hmm. It's like that green slime that took Superman down.
I'm trying to look at this, and I try not to do this, analyze this question too much or analyze any question too much because I'm like, okay, in one sense, my kid would be my kryptonite because I'd do anything for him, right? But I'm almost not looking at it like that. Like, what's my kryptonite that would make me fall back into old patterns?
Sure.
Not one fucking thing.
Superman's shield is on strong.
You know, having gone through all those experiences and realizing, like, I'm in a place in life too where I've dropped almost, not almost, every vice that I partaked in. And there were lingering fragments there even up until last year. And then finally getting to a place where, like, I'd get to the point where it'd be like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, some days, like on a Thursday or a Friday afternoon. I'd be like, oh, all right, I taste that tequila. Like it's sitting on the tip of my tongue. I can taste it. And now it's not there. Hasn't been there for a while. I tried having a bourbon during the holidays, tried having a tequila during the holidays. Gotta tell you, I walked away and I was like, I don't know, why did I do that? And I was like, did I just want to see if I had control over it or it having control over me? Did I want to see, am I totally out of the box? Am I good? You know? And I realized in that moment, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm in a really good place in life and in health, in mental well-being and emotional well-being, that none of it affects me. Now, with that being said, one thing that I have realized is that I have to work really hard at keeping my vibration and my frequency high. And I know all those practitioners out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Because when you do a lot of growth work, you'll increase your vibration. And when you get to that point, you'll have people in your life start to fall down, like fall back or fall off being friends or whatever it is. And you realize, okay, well, they're not at the same vibration. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you just vibe differently. right?
It's a different frequency
It's a
you're putting
different,
out.
that's it. It's a different frequency that I'm putting out because of the stuff that I've gone through and the things that I've learned, right? So when you're in that space of vibing high, right, at a certain frequency, now I have to work even harder at staying there and not having people in my life maybe pull me back into an old frequency. And that's happened. And the easiest way that can happen is in times of really high stress. And I almost experienced that this past fall. So that's what taught me was like, oh, because I was good, right? I'm not feeling great. I'm not drinking. I don't have the taste for it. Nothing's there. Then all of a sudden, there was a moment where I was going through some really high stress, a lot of things coming at me, a lot of work that I was doing on myself, right? And I hit that high stress point, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, where did that come from? I actually tasted it again.
Yep.
And then I realized, I'm like, okay, let me sit here with this right now. Let me figure out where it's coming from and what's happened and what brought me to this place to where I'm tasting it again. Well, that makes sense.
A person or a thing or
It was a
something like
person or a
that.
thing. It was a high stress situation that started to decrease my vibration
Yep.
because I was so
And you can
stressed out.
feel it because you're so in tune
Yep.
as well.
Yep. Yeah. When you start to increase your vibration through all the work you've done, you become really self-aware. So that self-awareness that I had taught me that, oh, I can actually end up, any one of us can end up back in that place if we allow it. If we allow it. But it's getting to that point of high self-awareness and knowing like what brought you there in the first place. And I had enough know-how to sit there in the moment instead of quote unquote grabbing a drink. I had enough know-how to sit there in the moment and be like, tell me why.
That's consciousness.
Yeah. So when I say there's a lot of work,
Right.
it takes a shitload of effort and energy to do this type of work. And I understand why a lot of people don't want to do it. This is why.
It is a lot. I've had my experiences as well.
Hmm.
Now, along your journey, do you have any things that caused you to set back a little bit, and how did you pivot?
So taking me back down, you're saying,
Yeah.
like along the journey? Yeah, I would say there's definitely been situations, people that have caused me to bring myself back down. I think I was, in a state of, I'd say what would happen is either I would meet a group of people, have some fun, realize, wow, this is a great time, right? It's okay. Have a couple drinks, whatever it is, you're partying. And then you start to realize it starts to become a little bit more frequent, a little bit more frequent after that. But you already said to yourself, no, you're not going to let this happen. Now, it's going to be different this time, though. It's going to be different this time. No, it's not. It's not going to be different because nothing good comes from the third or fourth or fifth drink.
No, it just lowers your vibration.
It does. Alcohol decreases your vibration, drugs decrease your vibration, all of that decreases your vibration. I get high off of meditation and ritual and ceremony work.
I was actually going to just ask you how you manage your stress, so that you don't take a step back.
Yeah. So again, a lot of this stuff has been, I wouldn't say most recent, but it's a constant practice, right? You have to remind yourself, I'm like, oh, okay, I should also, you know, be getting the work done on me that I'm asking my clients to do. Go get a healing session. Go get a Reiki session. Go meditate. If you don't know how to meditate, let's teach you how to meditate. It's all those things. So I manage it through meditation. I love getting out to nature, and it's been cold lately, so I really haven't gotten out a whole lot. Um, Getting back into trading sessions with a couple of people and having work done on me while I do work on them afterwards and stuff like that. Um, Guitar was a good one. I love to cook. Yeah.
I did not know that you were a
Yeah.
chef.
Well, I'm not a chef, not a chef, but I love to cook. and I love to bake. And I don't do a whole lot of baking and stuff like that. But like even my prep work for the week, when I put all my foods together and stuff like that, I'm cooking like there's 4 burners on, there's this going, I'm doing this over here, and even this is crazy, even washing the dishes is meditative for me. Cleaning the house, meditative for me. So I take certain opportunities and turn them into that. Throw the music on and I'm working through stuff and I'm doing my thing. Yeah, so I find little moments in the day.
I'd have to agree with the washing of the dishes. I even have a dishwasher,
Yeah.
but I find myself washing the dishes more than
Mm.
using that
Yep.
because it allows me that moment to take a break
Same. Same.
from work, from stress,
Hmm.
and you can just really focus on washing that dish.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that same spot that you might have just gone over 10 times, but
Exactly.
you got to make sure that it's clean.
Right? It's true. It's totally true.
You got to make sure. What's a life philosophy that you've developed for yourself that's helped in
Mm.
your development?
Yeah, so the one thing that has come up most recently in the last year, and this has come up quite a few times before, but I feel like it's done in layers when you peel things back, right? It's like an onion, coring it out. You got to peel back the layers to
That
get that
damn
onion, right?
onion.
That damn onion, right? Talk about it all the time. Um, is removing the masks, regardless of who you're sitting down talking to. Just being you. It doesn't matter if you're talking to the executive on Wall Street or if you're talking to um, whomever it is. It does not matter who's in front of you. You should come from a place of your true self, your authentic self. So when I say live from the heart, it's because that's been instilled in me through my mentors and through people who have helped me see that my old ways of thinking of navigating the world and navigating relationships didn't work. So my nature is I'm very friendly, I'm outgoing, I can talk to anybody, right? But there are times when I can come across as disingenuous, and I'm not doing that on purpose. It was coming from a place of quote unquote hiding myself behind a certain mask so they wouldn't see the real me because I didn't want to show them that I'm sensitive, that I care, that I have empathy, that I have compassion. Guys shouldn't be like that. Guys don't cry. The man thing, right? So I would put this mask on, not even knowing I was doing it, and I would come across disingenuous. But I didn't know that that was happening. So through one of my mentors, who I mentioned earlier, Sue, helped me to see that that piece even more clearly because I saw it before. It's not that I didn't see it before. It's just that I was working at it. I was working at it. I'm like, well, I'm coming across. I mean, I'm doing this thing. I'm being me. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm not. So even when I was posting on social media things for the business or whatever, um, I was posting because I thought I had to post. And this is what happens to a lot of people out there, right? We think we have to post something. Oh my God, we have to post something. And the truth is, I now wait until I feel it in my heart. So the living from the heart, the expression through the heart, be as genuine as you possibly can be with everybody around you. It doesn't matter who they are. That's my life philosophy now. I don't care. You know why? Because I don't care who you are sitting in front of me. I know I'm good enough to be sitting here talking to you. If you feel differently, not my problem.
So you have a brain here, but you
Yep.
also have a brain here,
Yeah, you do. Your heart's a brain. Woohoo, it's a brain.
and you have a brain in your gut as well,
Yes, you do. Yeah.
which I will be talking about when we get into my interview about
Right?
lymphatic drainage
Mm.
because your gut has a lot to do with your mindset as well.
Yes, it does.
Um, so, what is a major achievement that you've had in the recent years that you'd like to share today?
Okay. In what area, I guess?
Let's say personal.
Wow. Major achievement in personal life. would have to be the not being the addict anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a huge achievement because I don't think that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, definitely 15, 20 years ago, I never thought that was a thing. I also didn't think back then I was addicted.
You don't think it when you're in it.
No, no, I just knew that I was trading one thing for another and that I'd been back at the other thing and then I'd come back to this and then whatever it was, right? So it was the trade-off all the time, back and forth of different things, but I'd have to say the no longer being addicted, you know? And I know that that can rub some people the wrong way, right? But I truly stand by that. Like, just because I was addicted doesn't mean that that's the way I'm going to live my life till the day I die. I'm no longer an addict.
And being an addict, really, if we want to get into the medical side of it,
Hmm.
has a lot to do with the dopamine and all the hormones that get released while you're
Yeah,
doing all of those drugs or the alcohol. But
yeah,
the dopamine and the hormone release when you're doing those types of substances, they only last for so long and you're chasing it while you're still consuming.
correct.
Whereas when you start setting up your rituals or your ceremonies or your routines in your morning and your evening, those are natural dopamine releases that your
Yes,
body is going through.
yes.
So those aren't really viewed as addictions,
Hmm.
more like positive habits.
Correct. So when they turn into positive habits, those rituals, right? And we do them repetitively over and over, and the positive outweighs the negative, those end up creating new neural pathways in the brain.
Neuroplasticity.
There you go. And we talked about it. We touched on it last week. And it's such an interesting topic because there's a lot of people that will be like, well, that's just who I am. No, that's just the way they are. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'll argue that point all damn day.
You can change. People can change.
Yeah, yeah. You can talk to anybody. Like, there are people in my life that may never see me as this new person. Guess whose problem that is? Not mine. Okay? But I do know that I am a new person. Looking back at the person that I was 20 years ago, even 10 or 15 years ago, and looking at that version of myself, I know it existed, but it feels so foreign. It feels like a completely different person. Like it feels like I was possessed for I don't know how many years of my life. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, it was like Neo in the Matrix. Like I cannot explain it enough in that way. That I woke up and I was like, where in the hell am I? Like, oh my God, I'm actually here.
It's like a dream or a
You know?
memory.
Yeah, it's a distant dream, and I know it happened. And I look back at some of the experiences sometimes. I try not to sit there in that space too much because sometimes you can get a little like, ugh, ugh, I did that. Ugh,
You
you
can't
know?
really regret what
No,
you've done. You have
no.
to see it for what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, it really is.
You learned from it,
Hmm.
and you can't stay in that place of regret because that too lowers your vibration.
Correct. But you can change, and science proves it. Neuroplasticity, creating new neural pathways in the brain. That means that even though brain chemistry changes through addictions, right? Because of the dopamine highs and hits and all that stuff, you can outweigh that by decreasing those, by increasing positive habits and rituals. Now, the way they explain this is that, okay, if you've been addicted for 10 years, chances are it may take as long. I look back and I would say that, even when I started on that personal growth with the Tony Robbins programs, I was 29 years old. I'm 50 now. And the deep dive stuff happened about 5 years ago. So for 20 years, I've been working on creating new neural pathways in my brain. And it finally hit so hard in the last year to 2 years that I can feel it. You feel when you're different. You feel like, oh, like I don't need any of that shit anymore.
Like you even ask yourself that question, who am I?
Right.
Because your new reality is completely different than the old memory. And I mean, it can be a mind fuck. I over my healing journey, I've asked myself that question many times.
So
Who am I?
here's the mind fuck, imposter syndrome. That's the
Yes.
mind fuck that comes along with it, right? You become this new person, this new version of yourself. Here I am in today's world. I'm a relationship coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a spiritual coach. I work with people on different types of things. I talk to them about sex addictions. I talk to them about food addictions, right? Literally, I looked at myself sometimes and I was like, seriously? This is who I am today? I'm doing this? Like, do I have what it takes to do this? Imposter syndrome is a real thing. And the more you know, sideline it, it comes up, deal with it, sideline it. It might come up again, a little bit less, sideline it. You'll have to deal with it over and over once you become that new person, but it's hard to explain that for people that haven't hit the other side yet. But you can change.
You can change, and the imposter syndrome is interesting. And the back and forth of looking back at your old self and then where you are now and how am I doing this now? You're doing this now because you went through it.
Even the people around you, family, friends, they'll look at you and be like, there's no effing way. That's you. Are you kidding me right now? Like, I remember when, you were leaning out the car window and we were going 60 down the highway and you know what I mean? You were puking your brains out. Do you remember that? Yeah, I do. Thanks for the reminder.
Right, right.
You know? Thanks for that reminder, guy.
Yeah, like that was
You
a
know?
fun night.
Yeah,
But
great time. But I'm
not
not
where
going to
I'm
relive
at.
it. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to relive it now.
right.
I'm glad I made it out. There were a couple of experiences that I've had in my life that I should not be here right now.
But there's a reason why you are.
Yeah, there
And
is.
and that reason is to help others struggling with the same things that you've struggled with.
Yeah, yeah. I look at those experiences, man, and they're a really distant reminder for me that, yeah, what I have in my life today, I'm super grateful for. I'm super grateful that I was able to stick it out and get to this point in my life and to enjoy the things in my life and the people in my life that matter. Yeah.
So, Mike, can you share with our listeners what you have currently going on within your wellness center?
Wow. Sure. We got a ton of stuff going on, man. So our wellness center is really about everything wellness from the physical, so personal training, corrective exercise, assisted stretch therapy, nutrition consulting. We do everything from creating meal plans to nutrition coaching, the psychology of nutrition, helping you understand where your behaviors come from when it comes to food. Along with that, we do DNA-based testing, which is phenomenal. Getting into that person's DNA and saying this is how your body processes and utilizes carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, caffeine. It's pretty awesome stuff. We have um, healing services, shamanic healing services, energy healing, tarot reading, astrology, soul healing. We have spiritual coaching. The newest program that's my baby now is going beyond um, and rewiring lives, healing roots and rewiring lives. So it's really about what we've been talking about today and helping people realize that you can actually change your life. It's not going to be easy. I'm never going to bullshit you as a coach. I'm going to tell you the honest to God truth that there's going to be moments in your life where you're like, oh my God, do I really want to feel all this pain right now? Do I want to relive all this stuff while you're going through some of it? And you may backslide and say, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I felt enough and I'm going to walk away. But I promise you, there is, I hate this because everybody uses this light at the end of the tunnel, right? There's a rainbow over there. It's a pot of gold. Whatever you want to use, however you want to describe it, but you can feel better if you want to. So that's become a little baby. I have Brotherhood, which is a men's group. inspired by the fact that all my healing as a man, men out there need that healing as well. There's a lot of men out there that have suffered the same things I have, maybe other things. They have the tough guy exterior where they feel like they have to be the protector and the provider, and that doesn't allow them to show any emotion and be in their true authentic self, and say, well, I'm pretty sensitive, but I can only show that to maybe one or two people in my life. Everybody else thinks that I'm some, you know, macho dude, you know. So brotherhood is there. We have financial wellness, which is helping you take a look at your, not just your finances. My business partner Stephanie, she's a licensed CPA, but she tackles this from a consulting point of view, and she looks at it and says, okay, well, you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, whatever you are, and you want to develop your business, and do you know the best practices? Do you know how to set up your business from A to Z and what you need to incorporate in there? So it's really awesome to have that piece of the pie in there. Let's see, I got a 5-part workshop series on a shamanic workshop series on walking the path of the soul, starting on Monday night, February 5th, and you still got a couple days to sign up. That's on our website, danverswellnesscenter.com. We have a recommit workshop coming up between myself and Courtney, talking to people about recommitting. This is a word that came up from my mentor, Sue, and we talked about it a lot. And she really helped me to see that, like, every so often, doesn't matter when, it can be a year, 6 months, 3 months, you got to recommit to the situation or to the person that you're involved with. So you can be in relationship with somebody, and maybe 2 years down the road, you're having some trouble. You got to come back together, sit down, and recommit. So it's right around Valentine's Day.
Perfect
Perfect for the
timing.
couples, right? Let's see. We have, oh my God, what do we have? We have so much. What am I missing right now?
You've listed a lot, but
A lot.
I can also personally
Yes.
attest to some of your services as well. Courtney
Yes.
does Real Sky Astrology, and she's
Yes.
done my astrology reading. She puts a lot of wonderful work into those readings.
The amount of prep work that she does for that and getting ready, amazing.
And
Yeah.
Real Sky is different than the Western. It really has to do with the constellations and where they are in the sky,
Right.
and how they move through the sky, opposed to the Western being made off of a man-made calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really have to do so much with with where the placements are and what the energy is.
Correct.
So that really aligned well with me. I've also had a shamanic journey with Mike. That was one of the first treatments I got with him.
Yes.
One of the first times I met him. That was wonderful. And now I'm working with Stephanie for the financial wellness piece.
You actually worked with all three of us. Yeah.
So they're great practitioners. And if you haven't checked them out yet for a treatment or a workshop, then I would definitely look into that for yourselves.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there, but I mean, it's all on the website, danverswellnesscenter.com, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to look, we're there. Check out the service. We offer free 15 to 30-minute consults, depending on the service. Some services are 60-minute consults because they take a little bit longer, just to get a full intake done, So, but yeah, it's been pretty awesome. What do you think? You got enough information on me?
I think we've gotten enough today.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll uncover more as we go.
I talked to my kid about this, right? And I said, listen, Dad's going to be doing a podcast and we're going to be talking about some stuff. And he's like, well, what about? And I told him, and he's like, you're going to tell stories from your past? And I said, I'm not going to go into like party animal mode, dude, because he's 18. So he sees life differently, and he's into that, like, oh, having some fun and doing this and doing that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to break down those stories because there's one, too many to tell. And two, I'm not looking to relive that stuff. I am where I am today.
The past is the past.
You got it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and your journey.
Thank you. This was fun.
You're so welcome. It was fun learning all about you. And we'll be back 2 weeks from now with my interview.
You got it. So stay tuned for the next episode of Evolve or Remain.
We'll see you then.
Thank you.